Hello, Barnett, and welcome to Age Better.
Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to being with you and to our listeners.
You've written a beautiful book. A beautiful book. You have a copy of it, so hold
I
it up for us,
have
please.
a copy.
How to Be a Friend in an Unfriendly World, which is
I'm
out
holding
right
it up.
now, everyone. And there will be a link in the show notes for everyone, so you can check out the book. You can check out more about my guest, and definitely check out that book because it was absolutely beautiful. I mean, the title is so apt, right? Right
Uh,
now, we're all feeling this, no matter where we are in the world, what our views are, what our worldview is, what our politics are. We're all feeling this is an unfriendly world. So how can I be better in it? And that's really what this is all about. So
mm,
thank
mm,
you for writing it, Barnett. I really appreciate it. So in my mind, probably the pivotal thing that my takeaway from reading this book and the surprising element was when you came like face to face, you confronted your realization about your
mhm.
own, what you called your own judgmental nature and how you kind of constructed this protective and isolating worldview, right? And
Absolutely.
when did you start to realize that when you confronted your daughter, there was a painful moment because you were judging or not accepting her new life. And so you call it living in a bubble of fixed ideas, like which we all have, like we construct this bubble of fixed ideas, of fixed worldviews. And that's how we go about our lives. And you're
Yes.
trying to shake us out of that. So, really what I want to know, how much of this kind of unfriendly world that you talk about and that we all are feeling
Hmm.
comes
Hmm.
from these unconscious bubbles of our fixated worldview versus the externals that we're confronting, whether it's technology and culture shifts or politics. Tell us about that.
Well, I think a surprising amount. We tend to blame politics or technology. We cast it outside of ourselves, but the real trouble usually starts much closer to home. I should say that I didn't write this book because I had figured out friending. I wrote the book because I realized I wasn't that good at it. As you alluded to, my daughter had gone away to college, and she came home to visit. It was her first time away, and she was excitedly unpacking what was going on in her life. And I kept coming at her with all of these questions. And the subtext of it was, did I approve of who she was hanging out with, what she was doing, what were her course loads? And she called me out on it. And she said, whoa, 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 what is going on here? What happened to this loving, quote unquote, unconditional guy? What happened to my dad? And I realized that I was being hostile and that I was judging her and that I was just, wasn't conscious of it as it was coming out. But clearly my so-called unconditional love we'd hit the conditions. It's only unconditional as long as she was mirroring back my belief system and my values. And as long as I saw myself and mirrored in her choices, it was quote unquote unconditional. But the moment she started to become her own person,
Right.
well, I discovered the conditions and she discovered the conditions, and worse, it hurt her. And my experience of the impact that I had on her was enough to kind of shake me awake. So that was part one. The second part was that I had been walking in the park near my home, and I came across a street performer. And this guy was wonderful. He had this fabulous outfit on with little mirrors and things sewn into them. And he had two long sticks and a length of yarn between the sticks. And he would dip them into um, a bucket of soapy water, and he'd make these incredible bubbles. And they would shimmer, and he'd make shapes out of them. I was captivated. The pièce de résistance was this bubble that he made at the end. It was so large, and he pulled it around himself and stepped into it. So there he was inside this shimmering soap bubble. and the penny dropped for me. I realized this was the second part of the thing with my daughter, Sophie. I understood that I operate in a bubble of my own beliefs and thinking and feeling and attitude and fixed ideas and the way that I was raised and all the inputs that happen, and very few of these thoughts originate with me, frankly.
Yeah, that's
They
true.
just all come in, and I live in this bubble. And I thought, as I'm interacting with people who reflect my bubble, I'm fine. But when they don't necessarily reflect my bubble, I either bristle at it, or I'm triggered by it, or I judge it, or worse, maybe I make them invisible.
Mhm. Mhm.
So from that realization, uncomfortable as it was, I thought I want to grow. I don't want to just leave it like this. I want to do something about it. And I began to investigate for myself the question, what does it take to be a good friend? Now, to your point, how much of the unfriendly world comes from our own bubbles? Probably a good amount.
Yeah.
Um, because we're not seeing people as they are, we're seeing them through our own bubbles of fixed ideas.
Yes. And we all, I mean, as you point out in your book, we all are, I don't want to say guilty of this, but yes, we all are guilty. But it's interesting too, because I did ask about the externals versus the internal bubble that we're all living in.
Mhm.
And but these internal bubbles, as you just pointed out, are created by external forces that are kind of forced upon us from the moment we're born into whatever family,
Yeah,
region, country, religion,
education, race,
and
religion.
so on and so forth. And so this is like an ongoing battle. But wow, how lucky is your daughter? I have to point this out. I hope she's told you this, for you to be so self-aware. I don't know how long it took to be so self-aware that you would actually say, as you said, I want to grow from this. This is not good.
Well, I don't know.
Bravo.
I don't know about the self-aware part. I will say that change happens in a second. So there was decades and decades and decades of being unaware of this.
Sure.
And suddenly the awareness, and the change happens instantly. So, this is this is the other version of becoming an overnight success. Suddenly you understand it. But once you notice that bubble, the bubbles that they distort everything. And once you notice it, you really can't unsee it. And so paradoxically, the moment that whether it's me or it's you or any of us takes ownership of our part in the unfriendly world, and by that I mean by the time I finished interpreting events, they become unfriendly. I don't know that they are unfriendly on the surface of it, and it doesn't matter, frankly, whether it's intrinsically unfriendly. What matters is how I respond to things. So if I am set up to be to be confrontive, if I'm set up to have these kinds of automatic behaviors where I am combative, where I am judgmental, where I insist that everything matches my own values and my own sensibilities, then I'm going to find problems wherever I look.
Yeah. Yeah. Think about that. No
Absolutely.
matter who you're talking with, who your friends are, yeah, there are going to
You're
be
you're
problems.
always going to be screening for an issue, because there's
Yeah.
this picture. It's like wearing dark glasses,
Yes.
and whatever comes in is tinted by the color of the glasses.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, it's really incredible. I had to really think long and hard about that point, when reading the book, and, I know I do that. There's no question I do that as a parent, and I was specifically thinking about my relationship with my own 2 daughters, and then I
Mm.
was thinking about my husband, who's he will listen to this episode, of course, and he will hear me say he's even more so because
Uh,
he's a little, what should I say, a little stricter, a little more, he's got expectations that I'm like a little more like, well, okay. It's very interesting and how we all have to work on this clearly. So Cicero wrote over 2,000 years
yeah,
ago, How
yeah.
to Be a Friend, which is kind of funny. Yet here we are still struggling with the same fundamentals about around friendship and relationship. So clearly the human need for friendship and relationships hasn't changed. We still need it. And boy, I have had so because the focus of my podcast is aging better and healthy and all
Mhm,
that great
mhm.
stuff. And so I've had a lot of experts on who've written books, some have just done research on it about the importance of social connection to aging better. So we know how important this is. So what's changed? Like, what's the biggest new challenge to friendship in our modern world compared to,
Well,
2,000 years ago?
my book is named. I'm sort of with a nod to Cicero. I began my investigation about friendship with Cicero,
Mhm.
who wrote How to Be a Friend,
Yep.
as you say, 2,000 years ago. And it's quite amazing how little has changed, and the challenges are ever present. The one new wrinkle that doesn't necessarily change the challenges of being trusting and allowing oneself to be changed in positive ways by our friends. And we'll get into all of that a little more in a minute. But what has made it more complicated, and the piece that maybe, that Cicero couldn't have imagined, is the speed of modern life. It's that our nervous system is so overstimulated that we forget to slow down enough to actually feel connected with others, and connected more so, even more so, connected with ourselves. I can't be a better friend to you than I am to myself. And it requires slowing down so that I can witness my internal dialogue, so that I can witness my thoughts, so that I can witness my feelings, and I can ask myself, where did these come from? Are they original with me? If they are, or if they aren't, are they working for me? But what tends to happen is we are reactive, and we close the gap that allows us to reflect, that allows us to be responsible, that allows us to participate in our own relationships rather than being reactive. And the faster things go, the less control. Just try driving above your comfort level
Yeah.
behind the wheel of your car. The faster it goes, the less in control we are of our vehicles or our relationships, or of our lives. So this speed thing is a good part of why the world feels so chaotic right now. It's just
Mhm.
because it moves so quickly. We can
Mhm.
no longer trust our senses. We're overwhelmed by them, and we don't have practice in slowing down our responses to life long enough to be conscious about our decisions and our feelings.
Yeah.
Where do these feelings come from?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah,
And technology has a
go
big part, right? Technology is a big part of this too, the speed of our lives and the speed of information that we see and the anger that is also very present, I think, in a lot of people who are because of technology, they're seeing things that back in Cicero's day that you wouldn't see unless it was in real life,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. I mean, Cicero
and
just
that can
actually
make
very
people more angry and maybe less, and more judgmental and all the other things that we've been talking about. It's really fascinating.
there are so many aspects to it.
Yeah.
Because life moves so quickly, we don't have time to even feel our feelings.
Mhm.
um, that doesn't mean the feelings aren't happening. We just don't have enough bandwidth, enough time to feel them so that they can dissipate by themselves. Instead, they just get stuffed down, stuffed down, stuffed down. And so, as you know, you were talking about as people grow older, it's not that they lose capacity as they grow older. What it is, it's kind of like filling a reservoir of feelings that have not been given an opportunity to be expressed because there's no time. We're on to the next thing, to the next thing.
Yeah.
So every feeling, whether it's a grievance or even a joy, even if it's an excitement, it just gets piled up and piled up and piled up. And by the time we are more advanced in years, it becomes a weight. It shows up in unhelpful ways. It can show up as anxiety. It can show up as disease. It can show up as, headaches. It can show up as various conditions of other kinds, all kinds. So there's certainly technology is a huge factor, but so is everything else. Busyness is kind of a badge of honor in our culture, and
Yes, it is. Yeah.
friendship doesn't thrive in a hurry.
No, it really, really doesn't. Hey, there's something else I wanted to get to,
Mhm.
and that I think is a powerful tool that I really try to practice myself, but I'm not really always that good at it. And that is taking a beat, right? It's
Oh,
that moment when you're engaging with someone and especially like again, I'm thinking about one of my daughters calling me and saying about something that's happening to them that needs a fix. And immediately I jump into mom mode, mama bear mode really is more like it, and to fix that problem, whether it's the boss or the boyfriend or it's the whatever, fill in the blank. And it's like, and that's not good. Sometimes they just want to tell you what's bothering them and just share with you without you jumping in and trying to fix it or explain it or so it's what you're calling take a beat, a tiny pause, take a breath, really just count to 5, whatever works for you, whatever the mechanism that will work for you
yeah.
to kind of slow down your opening your mouth to fix that problem or just say something is so important. Let talk to us about that.
It's a little trickier for moms. So moms,
I do it with my girlfriends too, just so you
you
know.
need to, well, that's a different matter. It's a different matter.
So look,
But
yeah, we can bring it back down to the friendship level. I do it
moms
with them too.
moms need to cut themselves a little slack,
Okay.
because it is in the nature of momming to be responsible for the decisions of small children. The challenge for moms is the transition from being responsible from a small child or a younger child to a maturing child and then to an adult.
To
It's
an adult.
very,
My
very
daughters are
difficult
are adults.
to let go of I know. I know better. It's super hard. But
But bring it
as
to the friends level, which is really the focus of your book, right? Taking
yeah,
that
the beat
breath.
is that's the moment that we take in order to step out of, you could call it autopilot. I call it the bubble. It takes
Yeah,
a
yeah.
beat to step out of the bubble. Most of us, as you say, we rush to fix. And why do we rush to fix? I think we rush to fix because the discomfort of somebody else's pain
Yes,
triggers our own anxiety. So taking a beat interrupts that pattern. It it shifts it to I'm here with you. I'm not
mhm.
trying to make this go away so that I feel better.
Right,
I'm
right,
here with you while you're experiencing whatever you're experiencing. I'm not going to try and rob you of your experience. I'm not going to pretend I know better. I'm not going to pretend it doesn't help you. I'm not going to pretend anything. I'm just going to be with you. And
right.
when our friends feel our presence rather than our performance, I've got to fix you. I got to, I'm the go-to fixer.
Yes,
Trust deepens. That
yes.
Small pause is where safety begins. Our friends begin to feel, I'm safe with you. You're not going to rush in and try and fix me. You're not going to shift this into a relationship where you know better than I do. I'm not going to, I'm not going to get the subtle message that I'm less than, or I don't know how to take care of myself. I'm just, you know, this is a particularly with women, with men and women.
Mhm.
Men Men tend to rush in. I mean,
Yep.
I know this. My wife, for many, many years, would get frustrated with me and say, "I just want you to listen to me. And
Yes, yes,
that's it. You're not
yes.
listening
I
to
agree
me."
with you. It's very common between men and women in
It's so common,
relationships.
and
Mhm.
men lose patience because we are uncomfortable when our partners are uncomfortable. And
Yeah.
so I rob her of her experience and I try and steamroller it. Well, try this, try this, try this, try this. Anything to get anything so I don't have
To
to
alleviate her pain. Yeah, no, I
explain.
totally get it.
And what
It's
happens is she has
instinctive.
more pain. Now
Yep,
she's still stuck with her bag of pain. And on top of that, she's feeling unheard and
unheard.
unmet and alone.
Yes,
And
yes.
to a certain
So you
extent,
acknowledge this, in your book, and then you talk about the importance of not doing that, to build that trust again or rebuild the trust if it's already
and
been
that's what a
broken.
friendship is. I mean,
Yeah.
there is the beauty of a friendship is that unlike a family relationship or a spousal relationship,
Mhm.
those relationships, as wonderful and miraculous and powerful as they are, there are unspoken contracts.
Mhm. Mhm. Yes.
There are certain
Unspoken social contracts.
obligations and
Mhm.
indebtedness that is unspoken. Now, in a pure friendship, this is by no means every friendship, but in a really pure friendship, you have equals. There are equal status, and there is obligation in the same way that I have an obligation to water my roses. That's an obligation, but there's no indebtedness.
Right.
I don't owe the roses anything, or vice versa. That is very rarely the case in in marriages and in families. There is both obligation and there is some indebtedness. You owe me, or it's usually not conscious, but it's there. It could be as subtle as I labored for 6 hours. You owe me. So, in a beautiful friendship, there is a opportunity to be with somebody, and it's almost like a place where you can rehearse um, the acts of kindness and honesty and vulnerability that are the building blocks of not only your friendships and your families and your relationships, but of society. It is a place that is the clearest arena in which to grow, in which to let down your guard a little bit
Right.
and
Right.
be changed
Yep.
for the better.
Yep. It's work, what we're talking about here so far. Everything we've been talking about is practice
Yeah.
and acknowledgement, acknowledging these, kind of shortcomings or attributes in yourself or characteristics in yourself, and then working
They're
on
more
them.
like edges. I don't I used to think of them as
Mhm.
shortcomings, but they're all developmental. I mean, we all have, no matter how mature we are, no matter how wise somebody might be, they have a boundary to their sense of self, and it can always grow. And in a really wonderful friendship, there is the safety to be vulnerable
Yeah.
without having the other party weaponize it. I grew up in a family where, and again, I'm not judging anybody. This is just a, this is just a discernment. In my family of origin, there was a lot of teasing, and we all thought that it was cute,
Mhm.
except if you were at the receiving end of teasing.
Right.
then people don't think it's cute. So there's a certain kind of, in a friendship, there is a space for the vulnerability for somebody to have a behavior or express something. And in a really good friendship, that vulnerability is not weaponized. They're not so likely to be authentic with me the next time. And maybe in that understanding, I learned something about myself, and I give permission to somebody else to be more authentic with another person.
Exactly. It's we're all in a process, like, we're all evolving, always.
Always.
Constant state of evolving. Burnett, you encourage people to borrow from improv, and I thought this was really fascinating. Improv, like I actually went to for a season or a class, series of classes, whatever you want to call it, in New York City at the Upright Citizens Brigade, which is like the
Oh, wow.
premier. I
Yeah.
know
I'm
improv, like a
impressed.
lot of like Amy Poehler, they all came from there. Why did I go? Because I was doing, it's about 10 years ago or 8 years ago, and I was doing an online show for AARP. And anyway, the producer wanted me to be even more relaxed in front of the camera. And so she sent me off to improv. It was one of the best experiences. And that's when I first heard about the practice of yes and.
Yeah.
Yes, and the yes and mindset as a way to expand your worldview. I mean, it's really so. How can someone apply this principle of yes and to with people that they disagree with, without feeling like you're abandoning your core values and the like? But
That's a
talk to
great
us about the yes and maybe
that's a
even explain what it is for people who aren't familiar with it.
that's a
But it's
great
a central part of improv.
So in improv, and you see it, on Saturday Night Live every week for those that aren't aware of it. There's only one rule, and the rule is whatever somebody says to you, you don't get to say, "I don't like that, and I'm going to do my own thing." You guess whatever they say to you, you go, "Yeah," and I'm going to build on it. So it's
Right.
kind of like, if you imagine a sailboat sailing against the wind and it tacks back and forth, and the wind says, we're going to blow this way. And I say, but I want to sail this way. So I go, yes, the wind's blowing this way, but now I'm going to tack the other way. That's kind of what yes and is. So, um, to your question, how do you use yes
How do we really, like, apply this principle, with people that we disagree
to
with?
agree with?
Like
Well, yes and is not about agreeing. It's about acknowledging.
yeah, that's exactly right. Yep.
It means I hear you. I can build on whatever you're saying, even if sometimes, especially if building means offering a different angle. So
Mhm.
you keep your values, your ideas, your politics, your whatever it is, you simply stop treating every disagreement as a contest. It doesn't it's a yes and is a posture of curiosity, and curiosity is disarming. Nobody ever felt attacked by, a sincere "tell me more."
Right.
And very
No.
that's very different from, hearing something that you disagree with and immediately feeling that you have to justify yourself. You
Yeah.
have to win. There's nothing about friending and you have to win are incompatible. That is not friending. That's me. That's my daughter Sophie. That's my story with judging her and insisting that she becomes me. In a good friendship, you give permission to somebody for somebody to be different than you
Right. To be
without
themselves.
without losing your love.
Yeah.
To the extent that you can let somebody be different than you without them losing your love, that is a miraculous muscle. I mean, that one allows everybody in the relationship to grow, to learn compassion, to learn empathy, and to put aside the I have to be right, therefore you have to be wrong game.
Right. Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, no, it was a fascinating thing. I was fascinated by that approach, and I never thought I would be using the, yes, and
And it's
improv
fun.
lesson that I learned in everyday relationships, but I totally get it. They have a great book, by the way, the Upright Citizens Brigade, kind of like how to do it, and it's a big part of it. I just think it's a fascinating thing.
They're well known.
Yeah, and everybody, you should like to check it out. But so a lot of people admit that they're actually performing when they're in a relationship, and even, kind of they're pretending to be like acting to be confident and agreeable and okay, and even like, oh, I'm okay. And maybe none of that is really true. And so they privately feel like they're frauds. So what is one small, not too scary step someone can take today to experiment with showing up as their real, authentic, but imperfect self?
Well, that's a great question, and there are certainly hacks, and I can suggest a few. But I think the more urgent question is to ask oneself, what am I afraid of? And usually the fear is I'm not going to be liked for who I am.
Mhm. Right.
And that is not a, to use a computer analogy, that is not a program that comes pre-installed. So somebody taught me, you, whoever is having such a feeling, that feeling is, I'm no stranger to that feeling, that I'm not enough. Somebody taught me that. They may have taught it to me deliberately, or I may have just taken it in that way. Maybe I took it in at school because there were other people in my class as a young boy who were smarter, better, getting more strokes, getting more attention, and maybe I had feelings of being less than or inferior, whatever it is. The question is, where did I learn that I'm not enough? And then the next question is, what would happen if I dropped the performance? Now, again, my nature is to be a performer, not in a healthy way. My nature is to make jokes and to be sort of a Mr. Bojangles and be popular that way.
Uh-huh.
And it's a strategy. It's a strategy I learned as a boy, and I took it on as a boy, and it to whatever I'm alive, I'm still here, so obviously it worked to some degree.
Yeah,
As an
exactly. Hasn't
adult
hurt you too much.
as an adult, it's obnoxious at worst, intolerable at best, and can get old really quickly if somebody spends more than an hour with me and I'm in that mode. It can get old really, really quickly. And so the question is, well, what am I covering up by doing that? Again, you have to slow it down enough to realize, you're doing these kinds of performances. You're doing it. What am I covering up? Well, I'm always covering up that I'm not enough kind of thing. And what is at risk here?
Rejection?
Rejection? Well, you're not being accepted for who you are as a performer anyway. I mean, this is
Mm.
something that I discovered. If when I'm being appreciated as a performer, it's not me that's being appreciated. So I
Right.
lose either way. It's my performance that's being appreciated. So there's really, as a young person, I understand why young people perform.
Yeah.
But as
Mhm.
an adult, we can put down childish strategies and have the courage to see, well, what happens if I don't perform? Well, I can speak from experience. Then I'll have nothing to say. Well, so be it. Let's see let's
Yeah,
see
nothing wrong with
let's see how that
a
plays
little
out.
quiet. Yeah.
What's that going to be like? No, I have to contribute at every dinner conversation. Well, what if I don't? Well, then somebody says, you're being quiet, and yeah. At least
Yeah,
I'm
but
being
then
sick.
people will automatic 'cause I know people like that, and then if they choose to be quiet, then people think, "Oh, something is wrong."
Well,
So
those
it
are the
can get a
fixers.
little tricky.
No, well, yeah, well, now we see how, people who people who feel they have to perform find people who have to fix. They gravitate towards each other. So suddenly you stop performing and the fixer says, "Well, what's the problem? Let me fix it." So, so
Gee, we
this
are complicated beings,
this
aren't
well,
we?
it looks like we're complicated, but eventually we start seeing the patterns. So I would say, and again, I'll speak from my personal experience.
Yeah,
I admit something tiny about myself, not existential, something just human.
okay.
I am more quiet than I let on. I'm nervous about tonight. I have no idea what I'm doing. So
Yeah,
these
these are all
kind
so common.
these tiny admissions, they create like a permission. The moment that I drop my performance, I invite somebody else to be themselves too.
Yeah. I
So
think it's so helpful when you think about those things, what you just said, to stop thinking that way about yourself. Like, acknowledge these things about yourself and be authentic about it with other people. That's the message here. And then you also think, if I'm feeling this way, I'm sure a lot of other people that I'm engaging with on a regular basis are
everybody,
too. Everybody is,
everybody, and
exactly,
then
which
you
makes,
are
me feel a little more tender towards people as well, you know?
You, invite somebody else to be themselves. You're quiet. The fixer says, "What's the wrong? You're not yourself. Let me fix it. Let me help." And you say, "No, I'm fine." And now the fixer has nothing to fix. And they have to be themselves. And believe me,
Yeah,
you're watching somebody else
yeah.
being as awkward as you're feeling.
Yeah. The
You know,
wonderful thing about your book, I wanna just tell you, Barnett, is that, you really offer tools in the book. You offer tools, and it's the kind of book you can pick up, like, leave it at your bedside, everyone. Like, you're in that moment of self-reflection when you're not rushing, like we were talking about, speeding around the universe, life going on too fast. When you have a little time to kind of quiet your mind and your body, not when you're out for a run, but just like sit quietly, pick up the book and read a part of it. Flip around. I mean, that's how it was really designed to be read and used. Used. It's one of those books that you're going to read it, of course, but you're going to use it, and it gives you tools, and you call it your friendship field guide. And so, there are parts of it that I just found so incredibly helpful. I brought up a few, but there's so much more.
mm,
Um, and, and they're tools. So, what's one simple thing that you from your own book that you want to share with everyone that they could do right now,
oh, well.
starting today to improve their ability to be a friend in an unfriendly world?
Well, for one day,
Mhm.
assume the best intent in everything your friend does, or your partner, or your child, even the annoying stuff, for one day. Just see how that plays. A whole day with assuming there's some good intention behind this, and see
So,
how
and
that.
no judging, just with that one lens, one single
Well, you can
lens,
be
good
aware that you're
intention.
judging. Absolutely, you're going to be aware that you're judging, but you're going to put that in neutral. You're aware
Yeah.
that you're judging, but you're not judging. Just try it for a day.
Yeah, I love it. And
I'll give you
everyone,
two. You asked for one, I'm going to give you two.
all right, give us two.
On the phone, look someone straight in the eye and be with them.
Yeah,
Just be with them. Just be present with them. Don't try and fix them. Just be with them.
be there.
Being with somebody is the greatest gift you can give another person.
Yes, I love that so much. And, I'm going to ask you for three more things because I always end every episode with this question. What are your three top takeaways that you really want to make
Mm.
sure? everyone remembers from this conversation today?
Number 1, friendship is a practice. It's not a personality trait. It's not an automatic behavior. It starts with the awareness of our own bubble. Number 2 would be that connection begins with safety. Safety starts with being aware of myself and how am I making it comfortable for other people without self-abandoning. Number 3, small acts matter more than big gestures. One beat, one curiosity, one little appreciation at a time is how an unfriendly world becomes friendlier.
Oh, I love that. I love all 3 of those. I love everything you said, but I really, really love that last one so much.
Mm,
If everyone could just kind of follow that, I think it would be a much friendlier, better world. Thank you so much, Barnett. I wish you all the luck with this wonderful book. Again, everyone, information about Barnet Baines in the show notes and also everything you need to know about the book. I encourage you to get a copy. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And it's, again, one of those things that you will use. I keep going back to it. Thank you
thank,
so much.
thank you so much.